What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be discussing if Islam Makachev should be fighting Dustin Poirier for the UFC lightweight title and why it may make sense right now. And I say may because personally, I don't think that this fight makes sense, but there's people out there that actually do. So let's take a look as to why it could potentially happen. So Islam came out and said that he wants to be fighting in June. And right now, all the guys that are ahead of Poirier in terms of the title conversation are all booked up. You have Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan fighting at UFC 300 in pretty much a number one contenders fight. And neither of those guys, no matter how much damage they take, are going to be ready to make a turnaround for a title fight in June. And I wouldn't blame them if they didn't want to accept that anyways. And then you have Justin Gaethje, who was also ahead of Poirier in that title conversation, and he's fighting Max Holloway also at UFC 300. So all these guys that are in the question to fight Islam Makhachev are all booked up right now, and none of those guys are going to be making that turnaround to fight him come June. And that's where Dustin Poirier steps in. He's coming off of that insane knockout against Benoit Saint Denis at UFC 299, and he didn't really take any damage. So he's perfectly ready and fit to come back and fight Islam. He already came out and said that he would fight Islam for the title on that June pay-per-view. And of course, Dustin's ready to get back in there. He just needed one win, and he's okay. He feels like he's done enough to warrant himself another title shot. And I can't blame him, and I can't blame his ambition because he knows he's getting up there in age, and any of these fights could be his last, and this will be his last chance to actually get a UFC title. So I don't blame him, but at the same time, I don't agree. Like, I don't think that Dustin should be fighting for the title next. I think that next should be Charles Oliveira. And I know that sounds crazy for some people because he did pull out against Islam last time, but it was because of a cut that was completely out of his control. Like, we got to stop punishing guys for getting hurt in training camps and having to pull out of fights. That's, like, not their fault. They're definitely not trying to go out there and get injured so they can't fight. So, I mean, it's just stupid that Charles just seemed to completely lose his opportunity to fight for the title now. He has to go and fight a killer in Arman Tsarukyan, who he may or may not get past, and it's going to be a really tough fight. And then he still may not even get a title shot because you're going to have Dustin Poirier, who looks like is going to be fighting Islam next. And you're also going to have Justin Gaethje, who's been waiting in line for like a year now. So it's going to be tough to see Charles step in there. And it's honestly going to be tough to see Justin even step in there for a while. And that's honestly really because Islam Makhachev is just not that active of a champion. And if he fights in June, takes a lot of damage, maybe even gets injured, he may not even fight again this year. Maybe we'll see him fight in December or something. But the guy does not fight, and he's kind of holding up the division with this inactivity. I mean, if he takes a lot of damage here, he's not going to make that turnaround for that Abu Dhabi card. And I think the UFC probably want him to headline that card because he's headlined the last two times. So I'm sure they want him again. And if he's not ready for that, then I can't see where he would fight this year again. I mean, I don't see it happening unless the UFC starts pushing him to defend the title more, and then we could see some of these other guys get their opportunities at the belt. But if he takes a lot of damage in this June fight, I can almost guarantee you he's not going to be fighting again this year. Yeah, pretty much what I'm saying, though, is that Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira are both ahead of him in my books to get the title shot against Islam. And one of those guys is going to get screwed over here and not get a title shot for a long time and probably be forced to fight again before they even get that opportunity just because of how things seem to be playing out. And if Dustin were to get this fight against Islam, I actually don't think he matches up terribly against him. And yeah, I'm not going to come here and tell you that I think Dustin Poirier is going to beat Islam, but I think he stands a better chance than some. I mean, Dustin historically has done well against other southpaws. So on the feet, this is going to be a close matchup for sure. But once it does hit the ground, I think Islam will start to take control of the fight. I mean, we even saw glimpses in that fight with Benoit Saint Denis. Dustin, while he was able to get out of a lot of grappling exchanges with Benoit, he was still controlled a lot. And if he's getting controlled by Benoit, Islam's going to have a field day. even though I think Benoit is a very good grappler, I obviously Islam Makhachev is on a completely different level, and if he gets a hold of Poirier, he's just gonna ragdoll him. So I don't know. The biggest chance I think Poirier stands in this fight is potentially just not getting taken down and just keeping it on the feet. And I think if the longer it stays on the feet, the better it is for Poirier. And I think he will end up winning a lot of the early striking exchanges, which is going to force Islam to start shooting for takedowns. And then we'll see Islam control the fight. But I do see Poirier cracking Islam a bit and giving him some stuff to worry about at least. Also, if Dustin does get this title shot, I'd be happy for him. I mean, this is definitely going to be his last kick at the can here. Last opportunity to finally get UFC gold and cement his legacy as one of the best lightweights of all time. I mean, he already is one of the best of all time, but the belt would be the icing on the cake, and he can ride off into the sunset as a happy man, accomplishing everything he possibly could have in the sport. So I'll be rooting for Dustin if he does get that opportunity, but I'm going to feel bad for Justin and Charles, as I feel both of them should be getting a shot before him. There you have it, though. Those are my thoughts on this potential matchup between Dustin Poirier and Islam Makhachev. Let me know what you guys think, though. Do you like this matchup? Do you think it makes sense? Would you prefer to see Justin or Charles step in? I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. This is going to be really interesting to see what the UFC does here. I do think they are going to end up booking this fight. I have a weird feeling just because they do want to get Islam a fight, and this is really the only option right now that actually makes a bit of sense. So yeah, thank you all for watching once again. Let me know what you think down below. Always love hearing what you guys have to say, and stay tuned for more content like this. UFC 300, it's coming up. There's going to be a lot to discuss, and I hope you guys are here to see it. Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next one.